hand, it incentivizes our Veterans Administration, our Social Security Administration, our Medicaid, Medicare system, the IRS, to go into for people to take away your Second Amendment rights. For example, if you're an individual, a veteran, because we were actually working with whistleblowers on this aspect right now, that you may have somebody doing your payroll or paying your bills. You're supposed to get 2 phone calls and a letter. They're not finding it, and they're finding out that they've had their Second Amendment withdrawn.
Bam, bam.
Bam, bam. And trying to go get it back is hard.
A nightmare.
Yeah. So you saw the president last week with Steve Scalise. Steve Scalise, the whip in the House, said, we have a bill that has fixed NICS in it, along with conceal and carry reciprocity. And the president said, now, Steve, you know that we can't add the reciprocity because that won't pass. We'll have to do it as separate legislation. Once again, we have problems all the way across the board here. There's some great ideas here. Jim Bridenstine, who's one of my colleagues from Oklahoma, talked about the acoustic repeaters in rooms, in the structure of a building, so that with one shot, law enforcement can tell, everybody can tell where the individual is and what direction they're shooting.
Yeah.
Very inexpensive to put into place.
We've got that in the city of Glendale. We've got it for years.
But I mean, the whole problem here was the approach of law enforcement. I mean, can you imagine a guy that's in the school with the weapon and he runs out? And then you got 3 more that refuse to go in, and then they hold up EMTs from going in to assist people.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I
you know, so from that standpoint, this is a sad tale in the way that we're looking and we're going. And for example, they also brought up bump stocks. My comment was, okay, so you're going to make bump stocks. So are we going to take away everybody's belt? Because you can make a belt into a bump stock.
Yeah. Exactly.
It doesn't increase your accuracy.
No.
It makes it worse. You're spraying a pattern all over the place.
Yeah.
But I mean, once again, we have this arrogance for devoid of the facts. A devoid of the facts. Take away guns, and what you see is the Maos of the world. You see the Stalins of the world. You see the Hitlers of the world. The Second Amendment right is to hold a government accountable.
It's fascinating because my mother, of all people, bless her heart, she's 87, and I walked over to her house the other day, and she said, John, we have to stop it. A child of 19 should not be able to buy that weapon. And I said, really? She said, you have to be at least 21. I said, that's interesting, Mom. I said, so he's drafted at 17, 18. Mm-hmm. He goes, and they train him for 24 months on how to utilize an M16. What's the thing he does? He gets out of there and he can't legally buy an AR-15. Really, Mom?
Or a beer.
Yeah.
Or a beer? Does that make sense to you?
No.
Well, only the nut ones shouldn't. I go, cool.
Okay, yeah.
Who's going to define nuts?
Thank you, JK, because that's the whole key here. Is who's going to define that? Is it going to be a judge? One of these liberal judges from the Ninth Circuit? Really?
Oh, dear God.
Oh, dear God. So when we start looking at this, and that's where this game is being played right now behind closed doors, is it a panel of physicians? And if that's what we're going to do, what is it? How do we judge that individual? Let's say that somebody has a mental problem, and with drugs, they're perfectly fine. Do you judge the individual without the drugs or with the drugs? Okay, number 2 is, if you're defined as temporarily having a problem, how do you retrieve your right?
Is there a path?
There's a pathway, absolutely. So, once again, there's a lot of problems in regards to this. Remember, it's a right. Mm-hmm. And this is the most important right, in the fact that if you don't have the Second Amendment, you don't have a first, you don't have a fourth.
You're a subject.
That's exactly right.
Not a citizen.
That's exactly right. So, we're going down a rabbit hole that you better have your eyes wide open. And people, if you believe that the Second Amendment, like I do, is that important, you need to start raising your voice.
By the way, I noticed that they blame the NRA for a whole lot of this. I feel that social media, Google, Facebook in particular, has a responsibility. Because if you look at it, all of social media has carried it. These are copycats. Ever since Columbine, it's been copycats.
Yeah.
If there was no broadcasting of this, they wouldn't have the brains to figure it out to do.
Well, and the other part to it is if there's no consequences,
Right.
I'm going to target that.
Oh, yeah.
Put some targets on these people. Put a bounty on it. You know, saying, whoa, you see something and you've got the access to do it, take it out. Okay? But I mean, that's part of the problem here is that the Googles and aspects, I think about how they organize these kids. These kids had no money to organize this.
No, they didn't.
This is
You
this
know,
open society crap.
That's the travesty. I understand their pain. I've had to put people in body bags. I get it. The pain and the agony that they're going through and the fear. But they want to criticize an acronym, the GUN, the NRA, and they should be blasting the FBI.
Well,
Okay.
and Don brings up another point. So if you listen to the circumstances in which was going on in this school, so they told you about that there was a gazebo for the outcasts, the kids that didn't fit in, and then this kid didn't
Exactly.
fit in. So kids are cruel. And so we talk about bullying, we talk about, you know, inclusion, we talk about giving people a fair shake. Well, let's, you know, walk a mile in my moccasins. Go back and start looking. I'm not defending this kid, this young man, but you know what? There's a time and a place that what we have to do is where law enforcement, where schools, where governments, where we as citizens, whereas we as part of the community have to take action.
You read that kid's rap sheet, that kid needed some help.
But that's my point, is
Yeah.
that 44 times now, or over 40 times, the government intervened and did nothing. There was no consequences. Whereas, you know, plenty of those times, if they would have done the normal application. Remember, Barack Obama singled this county out as this new way of looking at things. Not hardening our juveniles with putting in with hardened criminals. But what did we do? Do 22 strikes and you're still okay for 23?
yeah, I don't get it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
They had 44 occurrences with him?
Yep, over.
Oh, yeah.
Over.
Yeah.
Over. So when I was approached, my comment is we need to get the facts here.
Mm-hmm.
And the more the facts come out, you know, just like on immigration with John Lott's criminology reports, once you start seeing the facts, they start portraying a whole different storybook than what's the rest of judgment.
Yeah, the the decision process of the media, particularly liberal media, is to present the case that fits their agenda.
Exactly.
Not real, not factual.
Well, and then they push the cord, they push the accelerator so that you do the decision quickly.
Quickly.
Instead of rethinking that.
It's called knee-jerk justice.
Absolutely.